Welcome, race fans, to the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship here at Apex Racing TV. We're at the Barber Motorsports Park, one of the more famous racetracks here in America. My name is Avery McDonald. I'm joined alongside Marco Barbonera for another round of the Formula 3.5 Championship. Marco, it's a tough track. How are these drivers going to have to adapt to all these twists and turns at the Barber Motorsports Park?
Well, hello Avery, hello everyone. It's going to be a tough race. You said it absolutely right. It's a twisty track, lots of elevation changes, not a lot of passing opportunities. Therefore, qualifying will be important, but this is a track where it's also easy to make a mistake. So drivers will have to keep their concentration high for the entirety of this race. And it's one of those places where it's never over until the checkered flag flies, basically.
Yeah, last season we were at the Barber Motorsports Park, and we had was a couple drivers that were really, kind of put on a show, and a couple of drivers aren't here. But right now we have Edward Samborski. He's currently on the provisional pole right now. But we had a couple of drivers say that this first lap during qualifying doesn't really matter. It's kind of just to warm the tires up. So the second lap's going to be their burner lap. But so far Samborski on the provisional pole. I believe he is completing his second lap here. So. But,
you are absolutely right. The qualifying overlay should be coming up in a second. There it is. Let's jump with Paul Hilbrink, the fastest drivers in single-seaters in iRacing, as he jumps up to 5th position right now. We have another very recognizable name in Reinaldo Augusto. Here he comes. Jump on board with him.
Yeah, Augusto had a strong run last week, and looking forward to a good opportunity. Some of the heavy hitters aren't here this weekend racing at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So this is a good chance to get a really good finish and try to get try to get up in that podium.
It's not a very long lap around here, so as you can see, many of these drivers have already completed their 2 allocated laps. Daniel Gallis here, sitting in P21, is trying to get a little bit better positioned in the grid. Also, Will Messick from the USA is also, well, that will not be an improvement for him, sadly. So let's focus here on Daniel, as he's trying to jump at least in the top 20, even though it's more than a second away. He's improving in his personal best sector 1, sector 2, not improving in sector 3. Let's see if he can do better in sector 4 and maybe crack that top 20.
Yeah, this is such a spread out field. This race did not split, so there's only one race for anyone that's not familiar. So you have drivers like Paul Hilbrink, who have a 7,000 I rating, top of the field, and then the driver Garrett Schwartz with a 668 I rating at the number 24 car. So it's a big gap in between the I ratings. So you're sitting in that lower I rating. You're not trying to get that top 5 or top 10. You're going to try to just drive around the competitors that you're usually racing against. So not the best SOF for the heavy hitters, but a pretty good SOF for the lower I rating drivers.
You're absolutely right. See, Will Messick is trying to finish his lap, even though this will not count. And as you can see, he is more than 2 minutes into his lap, and he's getting down the S's. Let's, well, no, we don't have time to go through the weather, because as you can see, just like that, qualifying is over, and we should give you the results in just a second. And here we go.
Well, we got Edward Samborski, provisional pole, put the quick time down. Theodore Burns second, Omar Baja 3. The 3 Americans in the front, but then it goes to Fabio De Carmo, who's been running really strong so far this season. And then one of the fastest guys in the field here, Paul Hilbrink, then Ronaldo Augusto, Rob Bohr, Ginaldi. Yeah, I'm not even going to try that one. Marco. Then we got Luciano Costa, Jason Henrique. Last season he made a top split and really had a good strong run. Then we have Jamie Byrne in 12th, 13th. James Byrne, Brian Knudsen 14th, James Mallow, Josh Stewart, Chuck D'Antoni, Joe Walker, Wayne Anderson, Manuel Sanchez, Daniel Gallis, Will Messick, Morel Gilbert, and Garrett Schwartz, rounding out the field for 24 drivers in this wide open field. You have the top drivers like Paul Hilbrink, and then you go down to some of the lower I ratings like Garrett Schwartz. So we got a potential for some carnage here, Marco.
Oh man, this first corner is going to be absolutely crazy, the way it, it's so wide, then it shrinks, and if you go a little bit onto the right of the track, if you go off the track, basically there's grass and all sorts of bumps, can really unsettle your car in an instant. Tell you what, we have everyone on the grid, so we will start a little bit earlier than usual.
Yeah, the lights are going, the 5 red lights, waiting for the green flag, and they are off. Edward Samborski gets a real shaky start. Not really the kind of his normal start, but we see Rob Bohr right there in that beautiful car. Costa's trying to work his way into 2. Good clean start though for pretty much the whole field. Back to Henrique. A little bit of a 3 wide going into Ooh, a little carnage there. Marco's start looks pretty clean so far.
It seems like they took it very, very easy, all of them. I hope I don't jinx them as they get into the SS section. Little bit of locking up of the tires there, but nothing too serious. So Samborski from Burns and Baha, three American drivers leading the field in front of two drivers from the Netherlands, Paul Hilbrink and Rob Boer, and two drivers from Brazil, Fabio Do Carmo and Reinaldo Augusto.
Yeah, Paul Hilbrink, one of the drivers that we see all the time, but there's Costas, gets a little bit of a wheel shake with looks to be Burns. Let's see, look at the rear end view of that. It's a nice low paint scheme there. A good battle here for the 11th spot. Samborski leads lap number 1.
Oh, Omar Ba has got a big issue into the fence there in turn 1 and 2, and that is going to be it for his race, I'm afraid. Let's get a replay very, very quickly. There's Omar, you see, just in front. Wow, he almost collected that radical car of Paul Hilbrink. Maybe we can get on board with him and see a better idea of what transpired. I'm afraid he went a little bit too deep and clipped that grass on the outside. Yes, the bumps, and into the wall there, unfortunately, for Omar there. So loses his spot on the podium and much more. So now Rob Boer is in third, and Paul Hilbrink looking to pounce.
Yeah, you gotta be real careful with the bumps in this Formula 3.5 car, because as we saw with Baja, hit the bumps and car got a little unsettled. Taking a look at on board with Paul Hilbrink. Hilbrink, one of those drivers that, you know, he's gonna save his DRS right now and gonna wait till the, you know, pretty much like the last 6-7 laps he uses DRS. He's fast enough where he doesn't need to use it unless it's an opportunity. Trying to get the pass here on Rob Boer. Not quite enough corner entrance there to get a good corner exit, but Hilbrink's tried on the gearbox of Rob Boer.
Yeah, man, these two guys have fought it out for, I mean, I have had the pleasure to cover this series back in season 4 of 2019. Seems like ages ago. It was only 6 months ago, but oh, so many things have changed in the past 6 months or so. And I mean, Hilbrink was always there at the front. Of course, former World Championship driver, as I was saying, but Rob Boer as well is also getting quicker and quicker. One of the people at the forefront of getting this race broadcasted, as Do Carmo tries to get up and close. Is of course spotting the livery of fellow Brazilian driver Sergio Sette Camara. Races in F2 with this Italian sponsored car, by the way. Lavazza, one of the most famous coffee producers in Italy, if not the most famous.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a real some really cool paint schemes. A lot of these drivers like to run the classic paint scheme, so it's really cool to see some of the classics really come back into the future. You know, with iRacing releasing the 87 stock car, you see the old. Not sure if that was a slowdown right there for Jamie Byrne. Usually not going to check up, you know, that often. So he must have got a slowdown there.
Yeah, either
really
that or he
good
got
battle here.
Either that or he got massively out of shape because he was going so slowly. And oh, Reinaldo Augusto with an issue. Where is? Oh man, he's in the grass. Now did he hit those barriers? I think not, judging by the tire tracks there in the gravel, but he is bound to lose plenty of positions down to P12. Let's see what happened to the very quick Brazilian driver. Here we go. Oh, he went straight to the chicane there, the S's, more than the chicane, and then, yeah, went right into the gravel trap. Thankfully, he was able to escape, but he lost so many places. As we go back live to Boer and Hilbrink still going at it.
Yeah, racing is all about mistakes, and, you know, mistakes like that, one small mistake caused him to lose so many positions. But right now we're looking on board with Paul Hilbrink, and Paul is, you know, not really known the best for qualifying. He's stated it before. So, you know, it's really, he's always got to drive through the field. But, I mean, he can do it, but he's right on that gearbox of Rob Boer. as they're trying to catch the two Americans of Samborski, your leader, and Theodore Burns, who is in second. But Samborski, the DFR driver, really having a strong run out front by 3.5 seconds. And, you know, there are some heavy hitters that aren't here, but Samborski has led when the heavy hitters are here. So having a great run. Theodore Burns, the downforce racing car, also having a great run. Rob Board, real close to a personal best there on the last lap. But up 4 spots, having a great strong run as we complete on lap number 5 of this 32-lap race.
I think Edward Samborski got the fastest lap of the race each time we went past the start-finish line, including this last one. You know, Edward, back when I used to cover this series, he was very quick, but a lot of times very, very unlucky, and he found himself more often than not the protagonist of some very, very exciting comebacks after an early race crash all the way from the back of the field. So it's refreshing to see him up front. Speaking of Paul Hilbrink and Rob Bohr, I think judging from my experience commentating races at this track, not racing, as sadly Reynaldo Augusto has another issue. Let's see the replay. You know, the only overtaking spot in this racetrack is that hairpin there. So if you fail to make your move there, you know, you might have to wait a whole another lap if your rival doesn't make a mistake. And it seems like Reynaldo made another mistake at the same corner, went, oh yeah, basically the same crash as earlier, but this time he also looped his car around, and so more positions lost down to P14. So as I was saying, basically it's a one spot, only one spot to overtake around this place.
You know, I'd have to agree with you. The last time we were here, season 1, Austin and I were pretty much the same way, but almost every overtake was in turn number 1. It was really awkward because most of the overtakes, like you said, are at the hairpin, but they were in turn number 1. As we're looking back on Theodore Burns, take a look at Rob Bohr right on the gearbox. Great corner out there. We have a 3-way battle for second, led by Burns, followed by Bohr, then Ilbrink right there, just kind of lurking, waiting for that opportunity to make the pass.
You know, it's getting very crowded up front because Fabio De Carmo is also coming. I think Kalashnikov and Enrique also could have their say in this fight if Burns is able to keep his rivals at bay. Ilbrink in the meantime tries to go for a move in turn 1. Little bit of a block there, perfectly safe and legal by Bohr, so nothing will change, but a mistake there from Bohr. Ilbrink sends it into the inside.
Yeah, mistake by Bohr. Ilbrink able to get to the inside, gets a good corner exit, just able to clear Bohr to make the pass. And Bohr, is he going to try to make a move into the hairpin? No, not quite.
Great pass there by Paul Ilbrink. He waited and waited. He, you know, picked just on the inside of his opponent. Maybe this forced Bohr to make a little bit of a mistake. Now it's Ilbrink's turn to make a little bit of a mistake there. Let's jump on his rear wing and see if Bohr can profit from this.
We might want to clip that off. Paul Ilbrink does not make very many mistakes, but you know, like we said, he was waiting for Rob Bohr to make a mistake, to make that overtake, and then he makes a mistake. But fortunately for him, Bohr wasn't able to get around him, and now his sights set on Theodore Burns, the American.
Back down into 8th place, we have this Brabham Nelson Piquet tribute of fellow Brazilian Luciano Costa in front of Jabol Jotmari in P8 and P9. Rounding up the top 10 is another long-time aficionado of this championship, Joshua Stewart, all the way from down under. But the fight at the front is getting very, very intense. And if Edward Samborski was pulling a gap earlier, he is now making it very, very big now, because all of this fighting between these guys in 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Now 4 seconds clear of the opposition is the American there at the front.
Yeah, if you're Samborski, you want to see that relative, that F3 box, just jumping back and forth with drivers so he can start to pull away. You know, he's been pretty much faster almost every lap, except for the lap before. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th were a little bit quicker than Samborski. But right now it's Burns and Ilbrink really trying to battle for second. Ilbrink right in the gearbox waiting for Burns to make a mistake. And, you know, Theodore doesn't make very many mistakes. Not trying to give him the commentator's curse as we take a look back at the old helmet of Paul Ilbrink, and with that his Radicals Online helmet with a good run into turn one. Is he going to try to make the pass on Burns? He's there. Going to back out after Paul Ilbrink sets his best lap of the day.
And it's not easy, of course, to make fast laps when you are in traffic, especially because, of course, as a big, you know, big downforce car, open wheeler, usually when you are in the draft of someone, you profit on the straight, but the straights around here are very, very short. It's a very twisty track full of corners, as here we go with the attack from Enrique on Kalashnikov, and Enrique is able to make the move stick. Looking back at his rear wing, now trying to cover from a possible counter attack here into the S's section. Let's actually have a look at that replay here, that overtake. The classic overtake here at the hairpin. I mean, you get the draft, maybe use a little bit of you know, the DRS system, and there you go.
Yeah, Enrique had a really nice pass there. He's really been picking up speed these last couple weeks, getting into the getting into the top split and just really running real strong. But right now it's Burns, Ilbrink, and Bohr, and then DeCarmo right there trying to get into a little more striking distance as we look back from Burns at Paul Ilbrink. Ilbrink's right on the gearbox. Is he going to go for the overtake here? Nice defensive line by Burns. Ilbrink going to try the outside, not quite enough. But good defense by Theodore Burns. But how many times are you going to be able to defend the fast Paul Ilbrink? It's only lap number 11.
Exactly. You know, the positive thing for oh no, Rob Bohr and Paul Ilbrink make contact in the S's, and Paul Ilbrink unfortunately spins in the gravel. What a disaster.
Well, I'm kind of eating my words there, the commentator's curse, but looking from the sky. Ooh.
Yeah, Rob, you could see that Rob was desperately trying to stop his car. He carried a bit too much speed into the S's. He was stomping on those brakes, but it was, you know, nothing he could do. And I think, you know, he would be very, 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 you know, upset with himself because he know he has ruined Paul Ilbrink's race. And poor Paul, I mean, he was on a fantastic comeback trail. Here we go past Kalashnikov, but of course now the podium is several seconds away. He can still do it, but he needs to, you know, basically set the timing, the timing screen on fire if he wants to go back and catch the top 3. And as I was about to say, I swear I was about to say, you know, Fabio has been waiting there all this race, and now all of a sudden he finds himself in 3rd place by basically, you know, being patient and waiting.
Yeah, he was just sitting there waiting to get into that podium spot. You know, real unfortunate for Paul Ilbrink. It obviously wasn't intentional by Rob Bohr. He just locked the brakes up, and you know, these guys race with each other very often. They know that everyone, for the most part, races clean. So just a unfortunate incident, but right now we're going to see Paul Ilbrink try to charge through the field. He's in 6th. I mean, don't count him out yet.
Absolutely. Let me say a big hello to another series regular when I used to commentate on this series, Jorge Lopez Exposito of Kuruma Racing, if I am not mistaken. As here we go now, Fabio trying to, you know, break this deadlock and try to go up. You know, he's getting very, very hungry. You know, he says, why not go into try and move for 2nd place, and that's exactly what he's doing. But no dice this time, as also here in the back it's Luciano Costa and Jabolk Shatmari side by side. And Jabolk completes the pass, oh, but they make contact. Unfortunately, they fall down the cliff there at the S's. And some big damage there for Jabolk. Luciano seems to be able to continue. Joshua Stewart moves up into 8th place.
You know, we said with this wide range of I rating that there was going to be some carnage, and well, we've had some carnage. So far, we have 5 drivers that are either in the pits or out of the field. So, and we're not even halfway through. We're almost halfway, but not quite.
Yeah, I mean it's a it's a race that can be the lap counter can be deceiving because these are very very quick laps, but at the same time, like we were saying in the opening portion of the broadcast, these are 32 laps that really require your attention, all the way through. So it's a very very tough race. Almost halfway through, and already we have seen plenty of changes. Now Paul Hilbrink trying to get past Jason Enrique.
Yeah, this is Barber Motorsports Park is one of the tracks that you have to pay attention the whole time. It's not like Daytona or Le Mans where you have long straightaways, you can kind of breathe. No, not here. You have to really pay attention the whole time. Very tight corners, very technical track. As we're looking at Paul Hilbrink just right on the gearbox of Enrique, trying to find a spot to make the pass. If he can get a good run on the straightaway to turn number 1 here, we'll see if he's going to make a move. A little off track by Enrique, and Hilbrink's going to move to the left side, try to make an overtake, and it's not, well, it wasn't defended by Enrique. Enrique knew he was probably going to get past sooner or later, so real nice gesture from him to let Hilbrink just right on by.
Trying to catch a glimpse of his rear wing before the braking area. Seemed to me like he was using the DRS in that occasion was Paul Hilbrink, and so now he's back behind Rob Boer, even though, as you will see in just a second with the time delta, it's quite a big gap, 6.5 seconds. The timing comparison between these two drivers, as you can see, with all the overtakes that he has been doing, Paul has been losing a bit of time. But here we go once again, Fabio De Carmo on the outside. That's very brave. Now it will become the inside. Theodore doesn't get phased there, and Rob Boer is waiting in the wings. This could get very, very, very tasty. It already is.
It's already pretty tasty. Yeah, that was a very aggressive move there, and that didn't phase Theodore. And who also hasn't gotten phased is Edward Samborski, who's out in front by almost 7 seconds. And to see that relative jump back and forth like he's been seeing, he's just like, you guys keep playing, keep trying to pass each other. Just let me pull away. I don't want any pressure. I don't want anybody on my gearbox. But what a battle we have here for second. And Rob Boer goes off. Ooh.
He tried to avoid Fabio De Carmo there at the hairpin, and Paul Hilbrink and Jason Enrique will both jump him. He will stay in front of Kalashnikov there. Let's see the replay. I think once again Rob was a bit too deep in his braking. Maybe he wasn't expecting Fabio to brake this early, and he went straight on. Oof, of course, a bit of a movement there in the braking area from the Brazilian driver, probably caught him by surprise, and so now it's a two-way fight for second and third place. And who knows, if they fight very very hard, who knows what Paul Hilbrink might do now. I remember in 2019 season 4, when I covered this series, if you pushed very very hard at the beginning of the race, like Paul no doubt is doing to come back, it was a bit of a given, as Paul gets the fastest lap of the race, that you would have a bit of a big tire hit in tire degradation at the end of the race. So let's see if Paul is able to manage that, because if he can really come back and fight it out for the podium.
Yeah, I tell you what, Paul knows that incident earlier with Rob Boer was unintentional, but I tell you what, he probably had a nice smile on his face when he came around Rob Boer off the track. Had a nice little smile, because sometimes that just kind of makes you smile a little bit when the driver kind of gets into you a little bit and you're able to get around him. But on board with De Carmo, one of the regulars this season, running real strong in this podium spot. But we kind of expect that with the the lower SOF without the heavy hitters. But if we take a look at the times, you have Burns and De Carmo running right around 1:11, and Paul Hilbrink's last lap was 1 minute and 1 minute 10.29, so 0.7 of a second quicker than second and third. So we're gonna start seeing that, and he just put down another lap oh man, every time I bring up running about the quick lap, they always run quicker. Paul Ilbrink is on a mission right now to get back to the podium, and he is coming. It's just gonna be a matter of moments before we see a three-way battle for second.
You can see that red car starting to loom large on the horizon as a lot of green in the bottom portion of your screen. The comparison between Fabio De Carbo and Paul Ilbrink. Ilbrink, I think, is the only driver below the 1 minute 10 second threshold. If we bring up the best lap time for each driver right now on the left side of your screen, you will see no one else is in the 109s. You know, it's a testament to his great pace, but you know, sometimes other things get in the way, and you know, especially on a track like this, you were right in pointing out that he himself says he's not a great qualifier, and that of course you know, proved to be the difference maker, because Samborski might not be as quick as him in race pace, but he's pulling away, you know, driving around, just having a nice Sunday drive, counting down the laps. And poor Paul, instead, due to the bad quote-unquote bad qualifying, he has been in the worst, because as you can see, he's been all over the place, up and down the field, and again on a comeback trail to try and get back to that podium.
Yeah, Samborski, one of the best qualifiers I've ever seen that's in this series, always qualifies very well. And well, it looks like we have Jamie Byrne trying to hold off a attack from Augusto, but Augusto able to get around him. Back to Byrne. Augusto side by side as they go into a very nice job by Augusto, but he locks the tires up a little bit. But this is a really good battle, you know, with the SOF and the vast majority of different iRating. You're going to see a lot of good battles throughout the track. But take a look at Burns and De Carmo. De Carmo's getting aggressive. He was sitting back in the, you know, the shadow of the earlier when Ilbrink was in front of him, but he's starting to get real aggressive.
He really went for it there. Good defending from Burns, who's defending once again here in the hairpin. And of course, you know, not only they are getting caught by Ilbrink, but of course, it goes without saying, if they keep on fighting very, very hard, Ilbrink will close on them even quicker. We'll see at the end who's got more rubber left on their Michelin tires, as Augusto this time trying to go past Jamie Byrne. Now
It's been a good battle.
They have very, very similar names, and they are both racing with the same livery. So, as we thank you, Jorge, for subscribing to Apex Racing TV on YouTube, so they must be, you know, related to each other.
Yeah, that's, you know, definitely, you know, definitely can get kind of confusing. If you like what you see here with this Formula 3.5 series, same time, I believe it's 22 GMT, or, you know, where I live, 5 o'clock Central PM time, here on Apex Racing TV, the Formula 3.5 series, where you're going to see on most weeks, besides 24-hour Le Mans week, some of the highest SOF rooms you're going to see. That's not a world championship race. You're going to see some of the top drivers in all of iRacing here, and it's always a show. It's always fun to watch. You know, I've been doing this since the middle of last season with this series, and every race is so much fun to call. So if you like what you see, come back next week and enjoy some more great Formula 3.5 racing here on iRacing.
Especially, it's very, very tough to get quality high-end open-wheel racing on, you know, on iRacing. Oh, Paul Ilbrink, what happened to him? It's hard into the wall. Oh, what a disaster! And that's it for Paul. What a nightmare of a race for Paul Ilbrink. I'll give you a replay as soon as possible, but let's focus on this fight for second place for just a second. Oh, he's going wide. Can he save the car, Fabio? He can, but he will lose plenty of time. Thankfully for him, there is no more Paul Ilbrink there. Let's see why. Oh, you tried to lap that car, went in too deep. And of course, with the new tire model, you cannot really stop this car once you are on the grass. Let's watch it once again from... but I didn't see any kind of strange movement from that lap car, Avery, so I don't think... I think this is all down to Paul, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was down to Paul. Paul did make a mistake. Just kind of caught the lapper at the wrong time, at the wrong spot. And, real unfortunate for Paul, but, the great thing about iRacing is you have drop weeks. And this will be, for him, utilized as a drop week for the 13-week championship standings, which is the first time on iRacing to have 13 weeks in a season. But this will definitely be a... Well, Josh Stewart goes around, but this will definitely be a drop week for a lot of drivers.
Yep, and they lost a bunch of positions. Ronaldo Augusto on James Mallow here. Jump on board with James now because, very bravely Ronaldo goes side by side and is able to complete the pass. So Ronaldo Augusto up into P8. There the front situation is more or less stable with Theodore Burns with 0.6 of a second of an advantage over Fabio De Carmo. Let's give some love to our race leader. I mean, he has been pretty much having a lonely race since lap 1, and therefore sometimes the fate of these runaway leaders is to have not a lot of love from the camera crews. So let's give some love to Edward. He's having a fantastic race once again, an atypical race for him. He was very, very unlucky. Most of the times I commented on him a couple of seasons back, but this is certainly a much needed race for him. You can just stay there, relax, enjoy, and bring home the car, and that is exactly what he has been doing for the past 24 laps. Looking for 8 more like this, and very, very quickly the track map shows us that he is also in relatively cleaner. Next car in line is Brian Knudson there with his AS F1 livery, and he's a third of the track away more or less. So good position to be right now for Edward to bring home the car in one piece and hopefully celebrate a great victory.
Yeah, you like to get your camera time. Get on this live here on Apex Racing TV. But the time you don't want to get the camera time was when you're out in the lead by 8 seconds. And you're definitely okay with not getting the camera time. De Carmo has started to catch up to Burns, just very, very slightly. De Carmo's made some very aggressive moves. Part of the reason why he went off track in turn 1 was a super aggressive move on the outside as they're catching a slow car. Slow car will not be in the way. But De Carmo doing very well, able to catch back up to Burns. You could have had that off track in turn 1 and then kind of just phase himself like, oh, I'm so nervous that I won't even be able to catch back up to him. But no, calm, cool, and collected, back up to Burns and striking distance for the second place spot.
So one thing that should be noted is that the actors in 3rd, 4th, 5th have changed quite a bit. But amongst all the pressure, Theodore Burns has been able to hold on to second place since lap 1, so he's certainly reacting well, being under pressure. He has to defend from several different drivers. Let's see if he can keep up until the end of the race. Edward Samborski and Theodore Burns are the only 2 drivers who are still sitting in the same position where they started, as you can see on the left side of the screen.
Yeah, Burns has had attacks from Ilbrink, he's had attacks from De Carmo, he's had attacks from Bohr, and he's held them off. He's doing very well at defending his position. When at a track like Barber Motorsports Park, where there's only really a couple opportunities to pass, if you can get really good at defending your spot, you're not going to let a lot of people by. So he's really done well at that. In second spot, your biggest mover of the race is Jason Henrique, tied. His biggest mover with 6. He's been running very strong into the top 5, but right now it's the Burns and De Carmo show for second. It's been going on lap after lap after lap after lap. Just really fun to watch.
Very, very fun to watch indeed, as we are getting into the final few laps of this race. Just a quick update, Paul Hilbrink still sitting in the pits, therefore his day is done. The last of the running cars is Will Messing in P18 as James Byrne and Jamie Byrne. Oh, that's why we had an overtake. Oh, everyone. Oh, man. It's a bit of a parking lot there. That was, I think, Manuel Martinez going straight as well.
I think everybody was stopping to put some coins in the meter to get their parking spot there. Looking at Sanchez, the American.
Yep.
And there's off track.
There's one, and solidarity off track there, as they like to say.
Yep, they put the coins in the slot and kind of parked it there for a little bit. They want to get a fine for parking. But right now it's Burns, DeCarmo. I mean, second, third. Burns hasn't given up a spot, really just trying to hold up the hard charging DeCarmo, who's up one spot from his qualifying effort. But Four Brothers Motorsports trying to get up to that gearbox to Burns. Not quite sure if he's got any of the DRS left, but something we've noticed here at Barber the last couple seasons that the DRS doesn't. I mean, it does help, but it's not like some other tracks where the DRS really makes a huge difference. So you obviously want to save them, kind of like what Paul Hilbrink normally would do, save the DRS. But still a good effort between DeCarmo and Burns. I mean, you're seeing some really good racing. We see this every week in this Formula 3.5 series. Up and down the field, always good racing. Make sure you tune in next week, same time, same YouTube channel here at Apex Racing TV. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and get that notification bell for more racing here. It's been an honor to be able to cover this great series, and I mean, pretty much identical times for Burns and DeCarmo there.
Yeah, both setting their fastest lap of personal best of the race, which means, of course, they are. They're still in pretty good shape with their tires, which is good to see. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that is the Chicago skyline on Theodore Burns' car. Now, in the beginning, I thought that was New York because, of course, he's racing in the orange and blue. But then I see the stars on top of the rear end of his car, which are clearly one of Chicago's trademark symbols, so to speak. So I'm quite positive that's Chicago's skyline there. Fabio trying to get as close as possible. And also one thing that you got to consider with DRS with this car, of course, it's very, very unstable if you have DRS on and you take a turn. So of course you can only really use it, and this place has got a lot of twisty corners, so you can only really use it on a straight. And of course the moment you pushed on the brake pedal, the effect disappears. Therefore, it's not very, very useful to have to use DRS here. Like you were saying, I would keep it, but for the end of the race. But I wouldn't bank on it helping me a lot. As we say, a big, big thanks to Bruno Almeida for following us, subscribing here on Apex Racing TV on YouTube with. Around 4 laps to go, if I'm not mistaken. Mats have never been my strong suit ever.
Yeah, I work in math with like steel and aluminum, but when it comes to laps, I'm not the greatest with the mathematics. But the one thing I do know is DeCarmo, Burns battling here for second place. The Four Brother Motorsports, DeCarmo is just right there on Burns, and I'm expecting to see some aggressive moves. We've seen aggressive moves from him earlier. And with just a couple laps to go, I mean, it's just bound to happen. Both drivers just ran, I believe, their quickest lap of the session. Not quite up to the 1:09 second, 1 minute 9. We saw from Paul Hilbrink earlier, but still, these drivers are moving.
I think it's Greg Olson also in the chat. Say big hello to him. Of course, we miss him. Hopefully, we'll be back next week. 3 laps to go right now. Ed Samborski leading the way, and Burns and DeCarmo. I saw I think a 1980s Benetton livery somewhere. Sorry, I have to go and check that. Oh, beautiful livery from Wayne Anderson. Oh yes, that's a Benetton livery, alright. Brings back the memories. But let's go back to this fight where these two guys are just about ready to lap that car there. So let's keep our focus on Burns and DeCarmo.
Yeah, Burns and DeCarmo, it's been a great battle so far. But here's the thing. Burns has been very well, at defending. So like DeCarmo's gonna throw a couple jabs in some of these turns and kind of hoping Burns might, get a little phased, but we haven't seen it so far. But overall, it's been a good race. We've had some off tracks, had some outs, some crashes, but for a race that didn't split, this is about what I kind of expected. But a couple laps ago, Samborski he's been putting a clinic this week.
That number 3 getting very big in the mirrors of Theodore Burns as they get ready to lap Wayne Anderson there. Defending no way through this section of corners, unfortunately, for DeCarmo. Let's jump on board with him as Ed Samborski gets the white flag right now. Sorella Blanca, one more lap here at Barber.
Yeah, white flag for Samborski. He's led from lap 1 to lap 32. But right now, DeCarmo is just barely in striking distance. Not quite close enough to make the overtake there going into turn number 1. We'll see if he gets a good corner exit. Real good exit for Burns. Does DeCarmo have a DRS? Not able to get to the gearbox of Burns. Into one of the other long straightaways here. But Burns, DeCarmo, really been kind of following the leader lately. I was kind of expecting him to go able to catch up and get a little overtake, but great effort by Burns. Samborski, thanking a couple for people for let him make the pass. But tell you what, Burns put on a great effort. Getting ready to come out of the final turn. Edward Samborski, he's going to lead all 32 laps here at Barber Motorsports Park, and he's going to take the win for the iRacing Formula 3.5 Series here on Apex Racing TV. As you see the battle behind him, it's Burns and DeCarmo. Burns held off DeCarmo. What a great job by those drivers. Rob Bohr going to take home 4th, and then Henrique 5th. We have not quite sure who was that off track. It happened so quick, but another good battle here for 8th. Trying to get up to 7th is, there we go. What a good exit there. Great race so far for the bottom of the split, but what an effort by Edward Samborski. Starts P1, ends P1, and leads every single lap. That's what you put in the checkbook as domination in the Merriam-Webster dictionary.
Absolutely agree with you 100%. That was a fantastic victory and the best kind of victory you can have, I think. We all love exciting races to win them. To comment, and this was a very exciting race, but when you are the race leader, you really want to win like this most of the times, as he's trying to give us some agricultural donuts, I would say. Trying also to blow his engine, but we are just waiting for a couple of drivers, Sanchez and Daniel Gallis, and then we will be ready to give you the final race results for this second race of the season here at Barber Motorsports Park, and they should be coming on your screen in more or less a second.
Your final results here for the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship at the Barber Motorsports Park. Winner in dominating fashion, Edward Samborski takes the win by 5 seconds over Theodore Burns. Fabio DeCarmo going to round out your podium. Rob Bohr, Jason Henrique, Ginaldi Costas. Ronaldo Augusto 9th. I apologize for the names. James Mallow, Jamie Byrne, James Byrne of the 3 drivers with a Byrne in their name, taking home 12th. Knudsen 13th. Josh Stewart, Wayne Anderson, Manuel Sanchez, Daniel Gallis, Will Messick, Paul Ilbrink 19th. The heartbreaker for Paul. Joe Walker 20th. Morel Gilbert, Chuck D'Antoni, Omar Baja, 23rd, and then Garrett Schwartz, who was in the room but didn't actually start the race. So, he's going to lose a little bit of iRating, but that's okay. For the 24 driver field, real strong race for all these drivers. We had a wide range of iRating here, Marco. So, we kind of saw what we figured was going to happen.
Absolutely, and I think most of us want to hear from the race winner. We'll have to wait a bit because Edward is not yet in the commentator's box. But I think that Avery is standing by with one of the protagonists of this race in both good and bad, with Paul Hilbrink.
Hey Paul, it's Avery. You got me?
Yeah.
Hey, unfortunate race for you, Paul. You really ran, really ran strong, and then the incident with Bohr, but then you were on a mission and ran the quickest lap time. Unfortunate for you, but besides the carnage, how'd the race go for you?
It was a little bit tricky. I just got out of the 24-hour of Le Mans race with 10 minutes to go, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to get back in the rhythm for this track again. Which kind of showed in qualifying, which was quite messy for me. Like, not a very good lap, but P5, so that was okay. I made a little mistake early on, which led to a Rob by as well. But I got back, and yeah, then that punt from behind, that really got the fire going for me. So determined to get back to the front again, which kind of works. But then was this back marker, and just before the blind corner, I thought he was moving over to the left to let me by, but I probably should have been a bit more, well, for sure I should have been a bit more patient and just stay behind him there, because I thought I would be able to drive around him there, but the track stopped, so I went off-roading and straight into a wall, so that ended my race.
Yeah, these cars aren't really the off-roading type. I was kind of shocked to see you in the race because of the 24-hour Le Mans. But it was really fun to watch you drive again, even though you had some unfortunate incidents. Before we let you go, is anybody like to thank?
Guys, for doing the broadcast, all my teammates at Radicals Online and our partners and sponsors, Arma Center, Cranfield Simulation, Track Racer, Joe Real Timing, Turn Racing, MOATF Podcast, Six Sideways, Pixel Dust for the skins, and all the viewers.
All right, Paul, thank you. We'll see you next week.
All right.
That's Paul Hilbrink finishing 19th for Paul, which is very, uncharacteristics for him. But, unfortunate race, but we'll see him back next week, hard charging.
Absolutely. Now, Edward Samborski will have a chat with Avery in just a second, but first, let's have a quick chat also with a driver who has been put under massive pressure tonight, and no matter the driver that was behind him, he always repelled every attack. Theodore Burrs, congratulations on second place.
Thank you very much. It was a very tough race out there today.
Yeah, describe your race for us, because it sure looked like, were 32 very intense laps for you.
Yeah, it was a very long race for sure. I thought we only had a couple laps to go, and I looked down, and it's lap 18, and I knew I was in for the long haul. But just tried to keep it consistent and keep turning in quick lap times and trying to minimize my mistakes. Otherwise, I knew I would be under a lot of pressure, and so just tried my best to hold off whoever was trying to get me and put up a good result.
So Barber has this fame of being, a very, very exciting track to lap around, but very difficult for racing. Now, of course, you didn't have to do any overtaking, but what was your thought on this? I mean, do you agree with this, this reputation that Barber has of being, more of a beautiful hot lapping racetrack, but very, very tough for racing itself?
Yeah, racing is very difficult around Barber. It's you can get in a really nice flow, so it's really fun to drive, but there's no brakes whatsoever around the lap, so you're always constantly under pressure, moving left and right. You can't take a second to breathe on the straightaways, especially once you get in a battle with someone behind you. So it's definitely easier to drive alone than to battle side by side.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, that next week you guys will be tackling Suzuka. So, what are your thoughts about that racetrack?
Yeah, so I did okay at Suzuka last season, so I'd like to try and follow up with a good result there. And so gonna have to get on and practice because I have a little bit of pace to get up there with guys like Eddie, and Paul is usually a fair bit quicker than me. So really got to try and put my head down and find something to be able to battle with them in the race.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Theodore. Congratulations once again. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
I'd really like to thank Downforce Racing for bringing me in last season. It's a great group of guys, and I think we work really well together. So big thanks to them, and big thanks to Apex. You guys put on a great broadcast every week. I love going back and rewatching it. And thanks for everyone that drives the Formula Renault 3.5 and makes it such a competitive and fun series.
Thank you very much, Theodore, and hopefully we'll have a chat with you next week. Enjoy your good second place then.
Thank you very much. See you guys next week.
And now for one final interview, of course, we have our winner, and he's standing by with Avery.
Hey, Edward, it's Avery. You got me?
You're loud and clear.
What a performance, man! You led every single lap. Unfortunately, you didn't get much TV time because the battles were behind you. But were you okay with the little TV time?
That's fine. I was okay with making it through all the lappers and not having any unnecessary mistakes.
Yeah, you really ran a picture-perfect race. But you've been running really strong lately. How's it feel to get the win on Apex Racing TV?
Oh man, I've been close a couple times and I've shot myself in the foot. So it's just nice to just go out and have a race and just get it done. And now it's it's just a check mark on a page now. I got it done. I don't worry about it anymore. So hopefully I can keep driving well, keep the pace up, and keep improving.
Yeah, you've done real well. We go to Suzuka next week. Real popular track. Are you a big fan of that track or not?
Yes and no. I like driving it, but I seem to tangle with people there. Whether it's by accident or on purpose, or I have no idea, but I just seem to always be in incidents. I remember last time I spun out going under the bridge, and Rob Bohr followed me and just completely annihilated me. I mean, it wasn't on purpose, but it's just one of those things where you kind of shake your head like, really? But so I'm going to be optimistic that last season was, I'll be on the plus side of it this time.
All right, Edward, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Thank my teammate. It was great fun. We were talking to each other, keeping the cars in check. Teddy, I'm talking to. He got second there. Thank you guys for doing the broadcast. This is awesome. It's good fun. iRacing for not having any technical difficulties with the massive amount of struggles they had this morning. And that gravel trap, because I finally got to do my rendition of burnouts.
Yeah. All right, Eddie, we'll see you next week. Thanks for jumping in. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you, guys. Good fun.
That's Edward Samborski, your winner here at the Barber Motorsports Park. Marco, what a fantastic race by him.
Absolutely fantastic performance. I mean, when you can dominate like this, it's always nice. And I mean, like I said during the broadcast, and like he reiterated during the interview, I remember him having such bad luck, and also, I remember hearing from him being a bit dejected, especially towards the end of season 4 2019. So to hear him this happy, and of course, having him celebrate the victory in this fashion is, at a certain point you start, becoming almost, cheering for everyone, but especially the guys that you have covered a lot, and you see that they put in some big effort, and they, sometimes always miss the big win. It's always nice to have, for them to have their day in the sun, and if Edward can get into a role, he can have plenty more days in the sun like today. So really looking forward for his performances in the next few races, starting with Suzuka, which is of course going to be a very nice one to follow. Don't forget 22 GMT next Saturday here on Apex Racing TV, so don't miss that.
Yeah, make sure you tune into that. Congratulations, Edward Samborski for the win. Theodore Burns second. DeCarmo rounding out your podium for Marco Barbanera here at Apex Racing TV from the Barber Motorsports Park at the iRacing Formula 3.5 Series. We'll see you next time. Night night.